Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. So today we've got something cool. This is the MJX X101 quadcopter. This is a 7.4 volt, so it should have some good power. And this one's been out for a while, but I haven't been able to get my hands on it till now, but I just wanted to go ahead and give it my review treatment. Anyway, I'm going to be unboxing it right here on this table, then I'm going to take it back to our high definition filming table, get a high definition inspection on it, and then take it out to the park, do a flight test and a pros and cons. By the way, you can find this down in the link in the description. I'll have this down there. You can check out the current pricing on it and all the specs if you wanted to. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with the unboxing. So first off, let's open this bad boy up. Looks like they give you a nice little finger hole. Pull it out. That's everything in that box. And let's see what we get. Top of the box is opened up. We get 2 sets of propellers. That's great. We get our propeller guards, so definitely put those on if you're a beginner. Here's our controller. Here's our landing gear with little pads on the bottom. Here's our charger, US charger on this version, so don't need to put any kind of adapter on it since I got the US version. I'm in the US. And it looks like here's a screwdriver with some of the sticks for the controller there. And one more thing here, some more screws. So that's probably screws for the landing gear. And all that's left is the quad and instruction manual. Cool. Looks like it has a little gimbal dampener. I'm not seeing a camera in this box, so it looks like you can buy that camera extra or just probably put on your own camera if you wanted to. And something like a run cam would be perfect for this. A really nice quality, or like a run cam 2. I'll probably be putting the run cam 2 on here, and I'll definitely be putting that up here and seeing what kind of footage we can get from the air. But let's go ahead and take all this stuff back to the bench. Just wanted to unbox it here because I got some room here. But this is everything you get in the box. Let's head on back, get some high definition video, and then do our flight tests and pros and cons. Okay, so here we are on the bench to look at this guy a little bit more in depth. As you can see in the unbox in the living room, we took everything out of the box and just kind of did a quick unboxing. Now we're at the bench and I'm just going to do a kind of a close-up look. We can see that the motors do have, they are just brushed motors, and then over here we just have a brass bushing over here, and this is the kind of motors that motor shafts that are very similar to the X8, the SEMA X8 type of motor shafts, where they have this little pin, this cross pin, so you have to put the propellers on, then you have to put a pin through here. So we're going to put the propellers on in just a sec, but I just want to kind of get a close-up look at this guy, just see what it's all about. There's the bottom of the motors. There is another bushing on the bottom there. It looks like the motor pods can just take apart with 3 screws. Actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws. And you can take that off if you wanted to change the motors. And then the top motor pod actually has 2 on top. You can see that we have a B with an arrow here that's going to be indicating which way the propeller is going to spin and which propeller to put on. Pretty neat. I like the design. Kind of like the X600, but in a non-hex version, the quad version. You can see how the arms are kind of swept back here, and they're a little bit more of a low profile arm design, kind of like the MJX X600 hexacopter is. This one's just a little bit bigger, a little more powerful, it looks like. We can see that it has these cool eyes in the front and almost looks like a kind of a smiley face here. Very interesting design they chose on this one. We've got the battery here. Let me go ahead and slide this battery out real quick. 7.4 volt, 1200 milliamp hour battery. So this will give us some good power. JST connector and the balance plug to charge it. And that's just going to plug right in there when you're ready to go. So what MJX has done on this X101 is they've kind of left it bare, and they have some kits. This one is just the plain Jane kit. There's no camera with this one, but as mentioned on the living room unbox, what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to go ahead and Velcro or strap on something like this, a run cam. The run cam is really good at getting excellent video in a small form factor, so I'm probably just going to be strapping this onto the bottom just like that, and so we can get some high definition footage. There's the on-off switch on the bottom here. MJX is really good at adding on-off switches to their crafts, so it's not wasting power as soon as you plug in the battery. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw the landing gear on really quick. They give you these 2 landing gear in the box, and it doesn't look like it matters which side is which. I'm just going to throw these things on like so. We're just pushing them in these little holes that correspond. Now with these supplied screws, we're going to go ahead and screw those legs on there. You can see that there's 2 screw holes per leg. 1, 2 right there. So they give us a little bag of screws. Did they give us a little bag of screws? I thought they did. Yeah. So they give us a little bag of screws here. So you can screw on those legs. Okay, so the landing gear screws are all on. Let's go ahead and flip this guy over and see how it stands up. Nice. Okay. So next thing we want to do is go ahead and get to the controller. You can see that the thumbsticks are off. And so we're going to want to screw these on. These ones have screws that are actually already preset. And all we need to do is take our screwdriver after we put those on and just go ahead and screw in the screws a little bit tighter. And while we're on the topic of the controller, let's go ahead and go through some of the control functions real quick before we power it up and go fly. So the left top trigger, basically this is your 1-key return button here is what it's saying, and the right top trigger is going to be your camera function. So there's no camera built into this. You can get the camera separate if you wanted to. And then these side sliding levers here, these are going to be basically if you wanted to change the type of control. Right now this is in mode 2 where the throttle's on the left and the yaw, and then the pitch and the rolls on the right here. But if you switch these around, I think you should be able to have 4 modes of control type. So just by switching these, pushing these up and down. Then of course we have the trim here around the pitch and roll and throttle sticks for trimming. If it's drifting in one way or the other, go ahead and press the opposite way on these guys. Our power strip, a little LCD readout, and this is going to be our rate mode. So we're going to hit this button, we're going to hear some beeps, and it's beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So 3 rates of flight here for flying faster. This is a aileron rudder switch, and this should be working in conjunction with when you do switch these sliders around to give you the different type of controls you want. So flipping the controller around, we do have a annoying screw in the back, unfortunately. But that's okay. I don't have to put that back in, it looks like, because it takes 3 AA batteries and it snaps in nice and tight. This little guy here, this is basically going to be your throttle limiter. So if you turn this all the way down, it's going to be a really low throttle curve. If you turn it all the way up, it's going to get its maximum punch of throttle curve. So if you're a beginner, maybe turn this all the way down, and as you get better, keep turning it up for more and more throttle response and power. Now this does look like it's looks exactly like the original X600 hexacopter controller. What they do is they put the transmitter antenna down in here because they leave this open for the FPV setup. So there is actually no antenna in here. So I did a mod on the X600 where I pulled this antenna up into this area and I gave it much better range. So you could do that if you wanted to. Go check out my X600 range mod on my channel. If you did want to have the option to use the FPV system as well, I'd recommend not putting that antenna in here. I'd recommend putting the antenna, sticking it out the side here or something, and putting on an aftermarket antenna and sticking it out here, so you can still put the FPV and have the control antenna out here for better range. Okay, so it didn't say it in the initial diagram, but you can actually go into headless mode by pressing and holding the right button here, which is your camera button as well, and this one would be return to home. So we'll test all that out in the field just to make sure when we do our flight test and see how that all is working. Then if you do have the FPV version, it shows in the manual how to connect your camera if you do have that FPV version here, which I don't. That's about it for the manual. So let's go ahead and just power this thing up real quick and see how it looks with the lighting. Put the propellers on and then go out and do our test flight. Okay, so I got batteries in, everything's plugged in. Let's go ahead and power this thing up. So controller on, quad on. Really neat look on this guy with those front LED eyes. And then we can see that the red light, let me turn off this lamp real quick. You can see the lights are shining through really nice on this one. So on the top, bottoms, all of the edges, really nice night flyer with the white. Let's go ahead and power everything down and put the propellers on real quick. I'll just put one on to show you guys how to put it on. Looks like this one is not going to have pins. This one looks like it's got these little screws here. So all you need to do is take the propeller, and we're looking for the letter on the propeller. So that's an A on the bottom of the propeller, and that's going to go on an A arm of the craft. So we have an A here. So that A propeller will slide right on this one. And it looks like at this point, you may need to push the bottom here to line up the hole. So you can see that how this shaft kind of slides up and down a little bit. So you may need to push the bottom to push the shaft up, and then go ahead and get your screw in there. So just make sure it's going through the shaft here and biting on the other side. All right, looks good. So you're going to go ahead and do that for all 4 propellers. And once those 4 propellers are on, you're ready to fly. So let's go ahead and take this guy out to the park and do a thorough flight test, and then do a little pros and cons. So let's go fly it. All right, so here we are at the park with the MJX X101. A little spider on there. I'm going to be attaching the RunCam 2 on here. So I just put a little bit of this dual lock Velcro stuff on it, and this stuff is really strong, so it should have no problem keeping it on there. So I'm going to go ahead and give this thing a flight test with the RunCam and record the whole thing in high definition. I haven't tested to see how this is going to look with propellers in view, so you might see some propellers. I'm not sure if the wide angle is going to pick up the legs or anything. So, but I do have it as far forward as I can kind of get it, and we'll see how that performs. So let's go ahead and try this thing, give it a flight. I almost forgot to start the camera, so let's go ahead and turn this on again by holding in the power button, and then we are going to just press it once. You hear a beep, and there we go. So the blinking blue means the RunCam 2 is recording. Now let's fly. All right, cool. So really stable. This thing's got some big motors, so I'm sure it's going to handle this wind just fine. Let's go ahead and do a lift test since we have full power on everything. So punching it from a hover to full throttle right now. Okay, so not super fast on the lift, but this is mainly for kind of a larger camera quad, so it's not really a sport flyer, it doesn't seem. Yaw, pretty slow on the yaw, but manageable, you know. It seems like it's controlling really good. Full pitch forward, full throttle up. It looks like it will drop in the wind. Coming back towards us, full pitch forward, spinning around. Yeah, so it's doable. Fights the wind well. It looks like just going into the wind at full speed, it will lose altitude. Anyway, let's see what we got here. So let's try the left trigger. Let's just push it in one time. One time on the left trigger is turning off the lights. I want to get a little walk around on this thing while we still have some power. I'm noticing that when I do give it some throttle, look at this little bit of shake here, a little bit of chatter. You might be able to see that in the video, but it does have a little bit of chatter when I give the throttle, give it throttle. Anyway, go ahead and walk around this thing, see how it looks. Definitely neat looking. So a range test. Fly out here. And I'm going to kind of go at a 45-degree angle for me, just up and right into the wind, so if it does lose connection, it comes back. And so I'm just going left and right on the roll while I'm going forward. And it looks like it might be getting a little wishy-washy already. Yeah, I'm not going to really go any further than that. I'm kind of feeling some dropouts. And that's pretty much to the other end of the park, so I'd say maybe 250, 300 feet about. I don't want to lose it, especially since it's kind of windy today. Well, here we go. Let's come on back. And let's see what else we can do here. So, right trigger. That was a flip. So, not pressing any input on the right stick, it's doing a front flip. Let's see if I pull to the right and do a flip. Nope, it's only doing front flips. Okay. So keep that in mind. Seems like it's only doing front flips. Let's see if we click and hold the right trigger. We got 2 beeps. I think that's supposed to be a camera function if you have the camera on, or maybe that's the headless. Actually, that seems like the headless, yeah. So holding in the right trigger is the headless, which seems to be working okay. It's a little skewed to the left, but I've been flying and spinning around quite a bit. So you can see that when I'm facing in any direction the head, right is still right, left is left, forward is forward, basically, no matter which direction the head's facing. And that's basically a headless mode. I'm basically sideways towards me right now, and it's still, you know, the correct sticks are going in the direction I'm pushing it. Alright, so out of headless, let's try to right hold that again. Whoa, almost hit the tree. Starting to drift that way. Looks like the wind is kind of changing directions, coming from that direction now, straight ahead of us. Alright, so now we're back in normal flight by holding in the right trigger until we hear 3 beeps to turn off the headless. Let's try to hold in the left trigger. Maybe that's a return to home. Let's see. Oh, that was the light. Holding in left trigger. And nothing's happening on that. So let's try to go back into headless and then try to return to home again. Didn't notice a return to home here. Okay, so now I'm in headless mode, and let's just press the right button one time. Okay, it's not going to do any flips in headless. Let's try the left trigger one time. Okay, there's our return to home. Alright, so that's how you do your return to home, and then you can just cancel it by putting some input on the right stick. So let's try that again. So I think I went kind of in that direction when I launched, and I'm just going to click, when you're in headless, click the left trigger once. There we go. Whoa. Okay, so it got a little bit skewed there for some reason. Let's go ahead and retrieve it and see what happened. Alright, so I just pulled it out of the grassy side of the hill over there, and nothing, of course, is wrong with it since we crashed in the grass. So let's go ahead and keep flying, see if there's any damage. Oh, looks like the run cam just fell off. Let's put this back on. Okay. Okay, so it's still in headless. Let's get out of this. Holding the right trigger. There we go. So the headless seems to be really skewed now. Probably from all my crashing and all the problems I've had, but so I wouldn't recommend relying on the headless or return to home on this one, because it looks like it will skew off quite a bit. Let's try advanced mode on the controller by pressing that button. Oh, okay, so there we go. Now I remember. So MJX, it looks like this is the older firmware on the MJX style copters, where if you put it in advanced and you reach like 90% of the stick, it will just flip. And so that's how you do your other direction of flips. So just keep that in mind. You can fly around, but then when you do push the stick in all the way in one direction, you see how it's doing flips. So that's how you can do left rolls, back flips, front flips. It won't do that if you're just in normal or advanced mode, and beginner mode actually, or intermediate mode, sorry. So beginner mode is real docile. You can see the pitch and roll is really slow. Let's get up here and get some video. I think that's pretty much all the functions we can do. I'm going to go back into intermediate just in case the wind catches it. And let's just get really high and see what kind of nice video we can get with this run cam 2 way up here. You know, I'm just going to hover here really nice and steady. Looks like it's pulling to the left a little. And see how this video looks. Pan to the right a little bit. A little hard to see the lights in the daytime, so I don't really want to spin it any other direction than just pointing straight out from me. You know, at night you can see those lights a little better, and then you kind of know your orientation. So I'm gonna come on down. Let's see what happens when we do full throttle down. So I'm gonna hover there and then do full throttle down. Yeah, so that just turned off the propellers, so be careful with that. It will completely shut off the propellers. I want to kind of do a controller shutoff test before this thing dies. So I'm just going to hover here about this high, and then I'm going to shut off the controller. So I just shut it off. It's gaining altitude. Oh crap, it's just flying away. Okay, so it was just flying away. It wasn't going to land or anything. So I just quickly turned the controller back on and rebound it. So we just dropped the run cam because it's going into its low voltage now. Looks like it did go into its kind of low voltage landing, and it just kind of landed and hit the ground and flipped on its side. But overall, pretty good. Let's go ahead and run through a quick little pros and cons of this guy before we finish this up. So range, kind of normal for these quads. This is a larger quad, so I would have liked to seen a little bit more stock range, you know, but it seems like it's got maybe about the same range as the other MJX kind of mid to mini quads like the X600 did and stuff, where it's not bad. It's like 250, 300 feet, 200 to 300 feet in between there, depending on if it's higher, lower, how far out it is from you. But overall, pretty good. It looks like it's using the exact same controller from the MJX X600. And as I stated before in the beginning of the review, those antennas are down in here, so you can put your FPV up here if you wanted to get that FPV kit. So I would recommend doing a range mod on this and just extending this antenna up and out, drilling a hole and putting an antenna up there for a way better range. Headless mode worked at first, but then it got pretty skewed and it thought that direction was home when I tried to be in headless and do a return home. Didn't seem like the return home is going to work unless you are in headless mode. I had the video up on the screen so you could see how clear that video was. A little bit of a con was when I did throttle it up, it had some kind of weird chatter, and that could just be the way the motors are unbalanced, or propellers, or the propeller shafts. It's definitely an alternative to something, say, like the SEMA X8 line of the larger brushed quads. This is not brushless, keep in mind, so these motors will eventually wear out and you'll have to replace them after a while. But you know, for a beginner quad that's fairly cheap, they have a lot of different functions where you can get an FPV kit for it, all kinds of stuff. So that's definitely an option. Anyway guys, I hope you liked the review. I do a lot of reviews like this, so go ahead and check out the channel. I think you'll like it. Also, check out the link on this guy. We'll have the link down in the description of the video of all the specs on this, all the pricing, and so you can click that link and see what it currently costs. Anyways, I hope you liked the review, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.